Welcome back to KHTS Radio. We are doing a very special interview with the mayor of Santa Clarita, Bill Miranda, and joining him today are your two news directors, Louis Diaz. Say hi, Louis.
Hello, Santa Clarita.
And myself, Jade Aubuchon. Bill, how are you?
Hello, Santa Clarita. I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you. I hope you guys are all having a good day. It feels like we are on the southern side of the equator, but we are not. Um, Bill, thanks for coming. We just wanted to catch up with you as you are Santa Clarita's new mayor. We wanted to talk to you just about what some of your goals are for the upcoming year and things that you would like to see happen in the city.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Number one, I think we should talk a little bit about the fires that have been around us for the last week or so. Uh, we were blessed and very lucky to have avoided the fires here in Santa Clarita because, as you know, we were surrounded by flames, surrounded by embers, in the middle of very steep winds coming our way, and probably we were looking at fires in our valley. But fortunately, as I say, we were blessed not to have anything dramatic happen within the borders of Santa Clarita. So one of the things we did, and I think the public needs to know this, uh, we did everything we possibly could to prepare should fires take place. Now, we're experienced. We've had
Oh,
a
yeah.
number of disasters here locally, as you both know, whether they're fires, whether it's earthquake,
Santa Clarita has a long
whatever.
history of dealing with national headlines. I mean, you're going all the way back to the collapse of the San Gabriel, like the San
Way
Francisco
back.
Dam, I
Yeah,
should
now
say.
you just went way
Way back. We're talking about
back.
two collapses in
Yeah,
the Newhall Pass during both was that the 1971 and the 1994 earthquakes. So we're a little bit experienced. We've
yeah.
had major fires. We're talking the buckwheat fire, the tick fire, the rye fire, the sand fire. I think we know a little bit about disaster in our community, and that definitely has shaped the way that you and your peers lead in this area.
Right, and we've learned a lot from that. And as I was mentioning to Louis, and Louis was mentioning to me, what did we learn from the current fires that would enhance our ability to prepare for whatever disaster comes next? And obviously, one of the things we learned was to make sure we budget properly for our first responder services that we get from the county, to make sure that from a utility standpoint, especially water, to make sure that the water agency here in Santa Clarita Water, is in sync and in communications with our staff so that we can plan ahead for water needs no matter what happens. And communications with the utility companies. Now, I know that we're struggling with Southern California Edison, but I think the population needs to know, our community needs to know, those people who don't already know, that the wires that Edison strung over land many years ago, they come from Central California and some as far as Northern California, and they have repeaters along the way. And those repeaters, unfortunately, not all of them are protected against sparking. And so when they spark, they have the ability, the possibility of starting a forest fire. So when Canyon Country communities, or parts of Canyon Country, lose their electricity, they get a shutdown, if you will, that's to avoid a forest fire. It's not punishment to Canyon Country, right? The utility company does not do that intentionally. Right. Now, the argument against the utility company is simply, why haven't you hardened those repeaters? You've had enough time. We met with them. I met with them with Mayor Pro Tem now, Lorene West. I met with them in 2021 when I was mayor and she was Mayor Pro Tem. And we both said, you have to harden those sites right away. And they assured us that they would, but they haven't. but we don't have a remedy. We can't go and, break down their doors.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing, both fortunate and fortunate, is that people don't understand necessarily that you're the city. You contract with providers, or in the case of utilities like Southern California Edison, they just service this area. They don't work for you.
Right.
It's the same with, the sheriff's department. We don't have our own police department.
Right.
We are very kindly able to have the county themselves, if I could speak clearly, provide law enforcement protection, and the same with fire protection. We don't have our own fire department, which we all know why that is. It becomes far too complicated for us to have our own departments, given how unprotected and in such a mutual aid area we exist. It's complicated.
Yeah.
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 And if you guys are just joining us, this is Louis Diaz and Jade Aubuchon, the news directors here at KHTS Radio, with a special on-air interview with Mayor Bill Miranda to speak about his goals for the upcoming year. Right now we are talking about preparation for fires and how the city is prepping for that. Mayor, I just had want to go back to something you said a minute ago. You guys are making sure the budgeting is there for if there is a wildfire to be in place so you guys can be prepared. Not to go into too much of the weeds here, but how do you guys orchestrate with the fire department? Do you guys say, hey, we want so many strike teams in our city, or is it up to the fire department just to say, hey, this is what we can give you, this is what you're going to get, and that's how that works? If you could explain, obviously you don't have to go in the weeds, but maybe just explain a little bit how the coordination goes between the city and the county.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because in the middle of, or at the start of any disaster, we have what you call a command center. And you're familiar with the command center because you've been involved in it before. And the command center houses, if you will, during a disaster, the sheriff's department, the fire department, the first responders that are neither necessarily sheriffs or fire department people. It houses city staff, city personnel, the mayor's involved, if not the rest of the council. So we make sure that the utilities, we make sure that everybody communicates, and we practice that on a regular basis. Okay, it's not like once something happens, will be the first time we all get together. No, quite the contrary. We practice that on a regular basis. So we keep those lines of communications open. Now, to answer your question specifically, how do we staff the fire department, and probably you're thinking of the sheriff's department also. So when we contract with them, we let them know what kind of coverage we need and want. Now, obviously, they know a lot more than we do about policing and taking care of fires, but they tell us what the levels of service could be, and we choose what levels of service we want. And we expect those levels of service to be maintained, and they have 100% of the time. Okay, and even though the sheriff's station in particular is undermanned right now, and has been for the last couple of years at least, we are getting the kind of service that we contracted for, and we're very pleased with that service. So I hope that answers your question. We get together, they tell us what the levels of service are, we choose the level of service that we can afford, and we go from there.
Yeah, it's like choosing a streaming package. You go, okay, they go, hey, you want sports, you want this, you want that, or in this case,
Exactly.
You want this many deputies, you want this many, patrol units, and that is what you guys choose from, correct?
Right.
Got it.
Very interesting. And then the other thing that people have always been attracted to are goats. They love goats. A lot of people have. The city hosted an event at Towsey Canyon last year where families got to come out, see goats clearing the brush over on Towsey Canyon. I think there was even a couple goats that escaped the pack that stirred up some drama. And they even put on a demo of a water dropping helicopter, which was pretty cool. What does the city have in mind or plan to do something like that again? Or do you guys even have any plans to bring wildlife into city limits to help with vegetation clearance and stuff like that?
We do not have a long-term plan. you would have to check with city staff. There might be a short-term need here or there. We don't get involved too much in short-term needs. But in terms of long-term plan, we do not have one. If you think we need one, we can certainly look into that. But as of today is our, 34th year as
I
a
think
city?
34th year,
Yeah,
87, so.
Yeah, so we're 34 years as a city, and that need hasn't come up. But we could, should the need arise, put it into action.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you're a goat lover, but
No, I just know that people love seeing them, and it seems to be, I'm no expert, but it seems to be an efficient way, from what I've read, to help keep the vegetation down. I don't know, maybe it's not, but
yeah. So just to remind you about Santa Clarita. I mean, we're surrounded by forest. Okay, we're surrounded by a lot of open space, and the ability for that to light up and fire and flames is real. Okay, so we have to be careful with that. But I will tell you, within the city itself, we don't have too many places. We do have some, but we don't have too many places where we can say, the threat of a major fire is happening here. We try to trim our trees and our bushes on a regular basis. If you look at our paseos, you'll see the good work that we do there. Most of our streets, the trees are trimmed, and there's not a lot of dry brush around the city, but of course there is some, and so
It's part of the.
Maybe we could own a few goats to go around from place to place.
Yeah, I think that's part of the privilege and the responsibility, because I know that you and other members of the city council have worked very hard over the last several decades, even before your time, to establish a green belt. And going in with that is that a green belt is wild forest area.
It's
and
green.
It's green, and sometimes it's brown.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a win and lose situation. On the one hand, we have these gorgeous hills, we have this beautiful natural areas surrounding us. On the other hand, we have these beautiful natural areas surrounding us.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a toss-up. We are always going to be in an area that has a higher fire risk, but that is because of the work that has been put in to preserve these natural areas, and that's just part and parcel.
yeah.
Yeah, going back into it though, what are some of your goals for the year as mayor?
Good. So the first thing is we are in the midst of renovating a number of our parks and doing some real good work on them. One of the parks very, very close to here is Old Orchard Park, and you can see the construction going on over there. We're going to make it a park that's for everybody, including special needs people. And so that's going to be a very good park. We're going to have obviously a basketball court, but we're also going to have some pickleball over there. And we're going to make that park, bring it up to our standards. Our standards are very high in Santa Clarita. Our parks are mostly very good parks. We're doing the same thing with David March Park. Mm-hmm. We're adding some exercise things to that park. We're also adding a restroom to that park. That park's never had a restroom. We're adding a restroom. We're doing work at Central Park. The Stream of Lights will be completed shortly, and that'll be a wonderful area over there. That's we added 20 acres. We built out 20 acres in Central Park between last year and this coming year. So that's a lot of work, but we're doing that. But the big thing in the parks area is we're going to take over William S. Hart Park, which is over 150 acres. And that is going to be a very, very big job for us because taking it over is easy. That's a matter of signing papers. But actually doing the work and renovating that park and bringing it up to the standard that our city has is going to take work. Is it going to take 6 months? Is it going to take 12 months? Is it going to take 2 years? I don't know. We'll see once we start looking at things over there. But I have to tell you, we're going to bring it up to our standards, and it's going to be a very, very good, usable park for us, while maintaining the historic nature of the mansion, that mansion area, where the bison are, that area, where the petting zoo is, that area. All of that is going to stay the way it is, only better.
Good. It's been many years, I know, since the mansion was open for tours. Is that one of your goals as a
That's
city?
absolutely one
Good.
of our goals, probably one of the first things we'll look at.
Good, because I've missed that. That used to be one of my family's favorite. I grew up around here within walking distance, so that used to be one of our big things. Is we go out to the mansion, we take the tour, and when they shut that down, either right around or right before COVID, it
Yeah.
was so sad because I had people coming to town, and I'm like, this is always what we take people to do. We always take them to go see the mansion. It's
Yeah.
such, see the bison, because it's such a special thing about this community, and losing that has definitely hit very close to home.
Very historic. And speaking of historic, we're going to look at the historic park area over there, and we're going to, over time, and it's going to take time, over time, we're going to make it a very, very central part of our history. Possibly putting a cultural museum in there, an art museum in there, maybe a combination of culture and art, but a real nice area, historic site for Santa Clarita. That's going to be awesome. Now, let me take you on a quick tour, if I may, because you asked me what my plans are for 2025. We're looking at Old Town Newhall, where we're at right now. We're looking at right next door to you. We're going to have a new development over there that's going to include some housing, some retail, some restaurants, and it's going to, in my opinion, is going to enhance Old Town Newhall quite a bit. If you take it further down the street to the south end near the circle, we own a little lot, then we own the Roger Dunn property, then we own the big lot. And all of that is going to be redeveloped, again, to include housing, retail, restaurants, hopefully entertainment, because this is the Arts and Entertainment District. But we're also going to put a parking structure in there, right? So you're going to end up with bookends. You're going to end up with a parking structure on the north end near Lyons, and you're going to end up with a parking structure on the south end near 6th Street. And that's going to really enhance the Old Town Newhall, the feel and look of Old Town Newhall. And again, when you add William S. Hart Park to the mix, and a good William S. Hart Park, and you add a potential for a cultural arts center over there instead of that little art cubicle that we have today, you're going to have a real art museum, because in Santa Clarita, we have a bunch of fantastic artists. And I have to tell you, I am so impressed with the artists in Santa Clarita. And we try to give them walls to exhibit their works. And we do. We have 7 sites where we display, 7 city sites where we literally display artwork. But as good as that is, it's not the same as having a museum where people get to see artworks from a distance, because art needs to be viewed from a respectable distance. You don't want to be on top of art to view it properly. So that's what we're looking at for Old Town Newhall. And remember, we're right by a Metrolink station. So we make Old Town Newhall a go-to destination, which is one of my goals. And people from LA, people from Antelope Valley are going to come and visit and spend their money here in Santa Clarita and increase our economic vitality. So going from Old Town Newhall, let's go over to Town Center, right? Town Center, everybody's wondering what's going to happen to the mall. Right, what's going to happen to the mall? What's going to happen to this? What's going to happen to that?
Are we getting a Costco?
Yeah, when's Costco coming or not coming? So the mall was owned by Westfield, and a year and a half ago or so, it was purchased by a company called Centennial, which is known at least nationally, if not internationally, for building malls, and good ones. So when Centennial bought, we had a meeting with some of the the directors of that corporation. And we said, look, we're going to do something called a town center specific plan, where we are going to allow certain things in certain places of town center. So we created a town center specific plan, and we said, in this plan, we're going to allow some housing, we're going to allow some retail, commerce, malls, if you want to call them that. We're going to allow some restaurants. We're also going to allow a hotel. We're also going to allow a theater, but that doesn't mean you have to build them. Mm-hmm. These are the things we're going to allow in town center. And I may be missing a thing or two, but basically you're getting the gist. So we went to Centennial and we said, okay, now give us your plan. Now that you know what we want, give us your plan and see how it fits. Now, we're not expecting, Centennial, that you give us everything we want, but we are expecting that you give us a plan that's going to fit within our town center specific plan. They haven't done that yet, and it's been a long time. And they spent over $200 million to buy that mall. They got investors, and I'm sure their investors are chomping at the bit saying, what's going on? Because we just put $200 million plus investment into the mall. But if you travel the mall, and I go to the mall 2-3 times every week because I walk there for exercise, you'll see so many empty spots.
Oh yeah, it's dead.
Yeah, the mall is dead. So we're waiting for their plan. And to this moment, as of this moment, we haven't gotten their plan. We can't hit them over the head and say, you have to give us a plan. They own the property. They don't have to do anything if they don't want to. We can't force them to do that. But if they want to meet the needs of their investors, they better put a plan together and get it in front of us pretty soon. And so we will remind them that we're waiting for a plan. They're working with our city staff on their plan, but I'm an old businessman myself, and I know that as an investor, waiting is not a good thing. Okay, so I'm expecting that within the next certainly 2 or 3 months, we will get a full plan from them. And then it's a matter of going back and forth and making sure that everything is, as we used to say in the old days, copacetic. And then we'll have a plan and we'll move forward. And whether that includes Costco or not, I don't know. Whether that includes, there's a possibility we'll put one of the streets will go right through the middle of the mall.
Yes.
That's an option also. There's a possibility, obviously, to put some residences there. And a parking structure is part of the initial plan. Well, there's an issue with the parking structure because they're saying the parking structure will cost somewhere between $50 and $75 million. And you know, I've been around a long time. If someone estimates $50 to $75 million, you're probably going to end up with about $100 million in expense. And so they're asking for help with that. And some people on the council are saying, let's negotiate. And some other people on the council, myself included, are saying, no, that's part of your plan. That's part of your deal.
Yeah, it's a question of ownership when it comes to that.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm not expecting the mall to be built out for at least a couple of years, maybe longer, unfortunately. Such is life, but there you go. And now let me go to a bigger project, which is the old Whitaker Burmite behind Saugus Speedway property.
Ah, yes, the donut hole.
The donut hole, as we used to call it, and probably still do. But what it is, it's 1,000 acres, 996 acres to be exact, property that's vacant. It's empty. There's nothing there. But beautiful mountains, beautiful hills. Okay. And a developer bought that and spent over $200 million for that property with nothing on it. Okay. And again, can expect to want to get a return on his investment. right? And so they came up with a plan. We came up with our, this is what we'd like, and they came up with a plan that fits what we'd like. It's very nice. If you've ever been to Playa Vista in the LA beach area over there by Playa Vista, there's a beautiful development over there, which is mixed use of. It has wonderful parks, wonderful residences of all kinds, single family, condos, multifamily, attached, detached, the whole bit. And they have entertainment, and they have restaurants and retail. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful development over there. It's the old Hughes Airport area.
Yes.
That goes way back. So we're trying to do something like that. Now, they haven't brought us their final plan. They're saying it might take them a while, because we're talking almost 1,000 acres. So that's a lot of development. It takes a lot of planning. But based on what I've seen, when the public sees what the plans are and what we're going to build there and how we're going to build it, and the fact that we're going to extend Via Princessa,
Oh, so it actually connects to the other side of Via Princessa?
Absolutely. It's going to go from Newhall, Wiley Canyon in Newhall, all the way to the end of Canyon Country. That's super. Okay, and we're also going to finish Dockweiler Extension. So there are two major roads that are going to be part of that project that's going to really alleviate some of the east-west traffic. So we got Old Town Newhall, we got Town Center, and we have the donut hole. And by the way, that project is called Sunridge.
Sunridge, okay.
Sunridge, okay. So we don't have to call it the donut hole anymore. So those are the things, including the park renovations that I talked about before. Those are the things that I'm pushing to get done as soon as possible. Now, there's some of those. So 2025 is a year where we, in many cases, want to drive things forward. Okay, stuff that takes years, we want to say no, start them, move them, get them going, move them faster. And I know they're not going to be completed in 2025, but if we don't activate them in 2025, then it's going to take 5, 10, 15 years for some of these projects to get done, and that's not what we want. We want some of these things to be done very quickly. One last thing, and I know I'm hogging up the conversation, but one last thing that is absolutely paramount and has been since the day I joined the council. I want an art museum cultural center in Santa Clarita. Okay. And I don't want it stuffed into some old buildings. I want a real live art museum that we can be proud of, that is a go-to destination, that is built from the ground up, that is modern, that has rooms. If you look at some of the local museums, you could look at the Gene Autry Museum. I remember when there was no Gene Autry Museum. You could look at the Skirball Center. I remember when there was no Skirball Center, okay? So it takes a lot of work and effort to collaborate, private-public funds, if you will, to make that happen. But we need to have a real museum. We're the 97th most populated city in the United States of America. We're the 17th most populated city in the state of California, and we're the 3rd most populated city in LA County. And we're the only one of that size that doesn't have a real museum.
Wow.
Okay.
That's fascinating.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
All right. So I am pushing for that. I will continue pushing for that. We have to approve a cultural museum, art and cultural museum here in Santa Clarita. And again, I reiterate, I don't want it stuffed into some old building. I want a new construction, well done, go-to destination. And by the way, we could put it at William S. Hart Park because we have space there for it, and it'll be right by the Metrolink station, and it'll be a go-to destination for all of northern LA County and most of the San Fernando Valley.
I think that would be amazing.
That's my wish.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and taking some time out of your busy schedule to talk to us and to the residents of Santa Clarita. And again, this has been Louis Diaz and Jade Aubuchon, the news directors of the KHTS Newsroom with Mayor Bill Miranda. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a good 3-day weekend.